When I was an Ayurveda student, I was amazed at all that you could know about a person and their physiology, their physical imbalance, and even their emotional qualities just through looking at the face. And the face is one of several diagnostic tools that Ayurveda uses for this purpose. But I just remember it was like a world opening up to me, a world of understanding about people. And I found that very satisfying. One of the things that I remember was just really a quest for my whole life is to understand people well, to love people well, to know them well, um, to create goodness in the world, right? No, it means you have to understand people. And so that Ayurveda could offer a window into that, I found very satisfying. And so in today's talk, we'll be learning about face assessment and some of those skills. It's not a magical skill. It's amazing. It was amazing to me. Perhaps what I should have been amazed by is that I didn't already know it, right? That like somehow the that knowledge wasn't commonplace. Why wouldn't that be commonplace in our society if it's so important and in a sense easy to do? Why wouldn't we all know it? And so maybe I should have been amazed by that, um, because it's natural for any material imbalance in our body. It's natural for that to be visible in our skin, in our face, in our features. As much as something impacts our health, it should be visible in some way, right? It should have some sign that corresponds to the impact that it's having. And so it's a normal thing to be able to read and assess imbalances by looking at a person. It's just for whatever reasons, and we can go into that. I think the history of all this is really fascinating as much as the subject itself. But it's as right as rain. It's natural. It's a good and wonderful thing, not a mystical thing to be able to understand about a person through looking at their face. And that's the tack that I'm going to take today. As we present this and as we go through it, I'm not only looking to explain to you how to interpret things, but why that interpretation makes sense, right? That's the real thing, is developing your intuition around it. And so the knowledge is one thing, the intuition is even better. And so that's my goal today, is to help you have some intuition about analysis of facial features and visual assessment of a person generally. Okay. All right. Good. So with that in mind, by the way, my name is John Immel. I'm the director of Joyful Belly, and this part of what I'm sharing today is what our students learn in our Ayurveda certification courses. And so our 2-year course, certification course for people who want to practice Ayurveda professionally, or who want to learn Ayurveda for personal healing at a much deeper level, that starts in 30 days from now. And that course is a clinically focused course. It's experiential, rigorous. We focus on quality teaching, and we're practice focused. In other words, we're focusing on you practicing Ayurveda, understanding it, living it, being immersed in it, and practicing it, doing it. So that, I think, is a really a great way to teach Ayurveda in a way that you can offer it to your community. The Joyful Belly School of Ayurveda focuses on foods, herbs, digestion, and nutrition. We we of course review Ayurveda in a comprehensive way in all aspects, but I would say we have a particular strength in food, herbs, digestion, and nutrition. So if you like to heal people through food, or you believe in that food is a very important way to create balance and health in a person, come to us. And you can see we have many, many tools on the Joyful Belly website to help you with that. Uh, so we have our 2-year course, the Fundamentals of Ayurvedic Medicine. That's a 2-year clinical training program, starts the end of August. For folks who already have some training in herbalism or already have some training in Ayurveda, one or the other, you're eligible to start our clinical Ayurvedic herbalism course, which most people take after the first 2 years. And that course is a really amazing integration of Chinese medical herbal strategies and Ayurveda herbal strategies applied to Western herbs. So you'll get the Ayurveda pharmacopoeia as well as the Western herbal pharmacopoeia in that course. Really incredible course for your clinical development. If you ever thought about becoming a master herbalist, that's your course right there. And then we have a 1-year specialization course in Ayurvedic digestion and nutrition for people who particularly want to focus on diet and digestion. All of our courses include diet and digestive health, but that course, the entire course is focused on that. So we go much deeper. It's like the gastroenterology level training as opposed to general practitioner, right? So 3 great course options, and you'll see soon we will be announcing a 4th course. Stay tuned on that over the next month. So today's talk will be drawing from some of the material that our students learn in those courses. All right, great. So why learn facial analysis? I talked a little bit about it, but I'll just say that visual examination is one of the 3 main methods of Ayurvedic assessment, and in addition to palpation and questioning. So when I'm sitting with a client, I'm looking at the client, and then I may also palpate certain areas of the client. If the practitioner has a license to touch, if they have a massage license or a license to touch through any other qualification, then they may palpate the client, palpate the abdomen, look for stagnation, things like that. And also questioning the client. So visual examination is pretty important. One of the 3 main methods of Ayurveda assessment. The first thing you notice about a person when you meet them is their face. So we have special cells in our brain that help us to analyze faces. And so it's an area of expertise among practitioners. A person's face gives insight not only into their imbalances and tendencies, but also their constitution. Usually a person's face is uncovered, so you can get that information. Actually, you can just get that information walking down the street. As you're walking down the road, you see somebody and you get a ton of information about them just from looking at them. So again, that's why I think this skill is so satisfying to develop. All right. So, and again, the tack I'm going to take is presenting this from a common sense point of view, not this mystical point of view that like, oh, this miraculously shows up in this particular way, but in a very common sense point of view. And in so doing, you'll see a little bit about Joyful Belly's teaching style through the course. Yeah. All right, good. A lot of times when we're doing face analysis, there are ways that we can see acute issues, like is a person overheated right now? Well, it's summertime. If you see my 2-year-old the other day, his cheeks were starting to turn really red. It was a hot day, and I think any parent would have immediately recognized that he was getting overheated. Right? That's a simple face assessment, and that's acute, not chronic. In other cases, we are looking at for chronic patterns, and we'll talk about both today. All right, just things that I'm going to mention in this course. Some of them are confirmed through scientific research, and others are speculative based on my clinical experience and application of Ayurveda principles. Some of them are I accept based on authority from the ancient texts, the ancient Ayurvedic texts. So where I'm speculating based on my clinical experience, I'll put an SP on the slides, just so you know the source of some of that data. All right, another thing I'm going to mention about face assessment is that there are things that can distort your view of a person's face. If a person has plastic surgery, you're going to misassess them. So we sometimes, if you see something unusual, if I see a client has features that are not in accord with the rest of their body, I'll ask them like, "Oh, have you, have you ever done plastic surgery, anything like that?" Just so I understand. A person can wear fake eyelashes. They can get Botox injections, wear makeup, or use lotions to moisturize. So here we see a difference in the skin tones here. This side is the skin is more luxurious and moistened, whereas this side, it's a little bit drier. The eye looks larger on this side due to the effects of makeup. That gives the appearance of opening the eye. So we could see how makeup can distort a person's appearance. Right, so you have to be on the lookout for that, and also changing lighting conditions. Other things that we want to take into account are the season, right? Like I'm just even looking at my own skin on the screen here right now. My skin looks very tan, moisturized, colorful, like a bright color. So I know that there's a lot of blood flow through my skin. Is that my natural tendency, or is that because it's the middle of July and the summer heat is causing dilation of the blood vessels in my skin, creating more blood flow and more vibrancy in my skin? How will my skin look in December and January when it's very cold? And my guess, January is the month that corresponds to July. So in January, maybe my skin will look duller, more gray, more dry. People tend to look younger in the summer and a little bit older in the winter. So all I'm saying is you're seeing me at my best right now. So I hope it looks good. All right. So if a person has a sunburn, whether a person has had a good night's sleep last night, what are their acute stress levels or subchronic stress levels? Have they had a bad week for some reason? Did they recently eat food that can change how a person appears also? So all that we're going to take into account when we assess. And in the call conversation, I was talking with Carol, and Carol said, well, how do you know if a feature you're seeing is natural, part of their constitution or ethnicity versus an imbalance? And sometimes that can be hard to figure out. Often we know by using other diagnostic tools for cross-examination. So when I take a client's pulse and I look at their skin and I see their whole chart and I'm looking at their tongue, then I can put together a complete picture. I've seen clients before. I'm like, wow, your skin is so moisturized, wonderful. But then I look at their arms and their arms are very dry. And I'm like, oh, do you use lotion in the morning when you wake up? Oh, yes, I put lotion on my face every morning. Okay, then I have to discount the moisture that I see on the client's face. So again, all that we take into account. All right. Good. I've set the background and the foundation. Let's jump into the art of face assessment, face shape. All right. So here we see a client has a thin, long face. The client is wearing makeup. We saw the effect of makeup earlier. You see that there's eyeliner to make the eyelashes look thicker, some eyeshadow. All that's going to have an effect of making the eyes look more open. Well, we see she has narrow, small eyes, and that corresponds. Actually, I would see that as confirmation of the diagnostic sign of her long, thin face. So a thin, long face is I see that as a sign of thin blood which is characteristic of Vata dosha. Now, I just threw out Vata dosha. That's one of the 3 body types in Ayurveda, and Vata is tends to be characterized by deficiency and dryness, right? So less fat. So we see that her skin is relatively thin. This is thin skin. We'll see some examples of thicker skin, and that correlates to the long, thin face. So why would a long, thin face result from thin blood? It's just thin blood circulates well. So a person tends to be long and lean when their blood is thin, and they tend to be short and stocky when their blood is more viscous or thick. And thin blood goes with deficiency, and thicker blood goes with excess, right? Could be excess, could be higher blood sugar levels, higher triglycerides in the blood, or just in general, a person who is moistened, which is a synonym for nourished in Eastern medicine traditions, right? Moisture and nourishment go hand in hand. Okay, so I'm expecting to see many Vata characteristics or other signs of deficiency, and indeed we do see that. The smaller eyes, the thinner skin, and you notice that here I wouldn't call the skin dry, but it is drier. And notice we see a little bit of redness down here. And so we see some of her pitta signs coming out as well. Pitta is associated with heat. Anyway, long, thin face. Okay. Asymmetry is also characteristic of Vata faces, although this picture does not have asymmetry. All right, Pitta. Pitta dosha, Pitta body type is associated with heat. It's a metabolic body type. The person burns through fuel. And so they tend to have a brighter appearance. You can see that this person has a sparkle in their eye, a brightness and a sparkle in the eye that you don't quite see as much in the previous photo. So beautiful eyes in both cases, but you see these the Vata eyes are just a little darker, and the Pitta eyes are the color is not quite as dark, and there's a little bit of gleam to the eye. So you see that the features will be more delicate in a Pitta person. The forehead can tend to be wider than the chin in a Pitta person's face because of heat. So in Pitta people, they have a lot of heat, and so they have strong blood flow to the brain, and that again, I'm putting a little SP there. I don't have as much of a scientific explanation, but apparently the more blood flow to the head, the wider the forehead. That seems to make common sense to me, but it's not a scientific proof, right? You also see sometimes in a Pitta person a more rectangular face. Here's a photo of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you see he has a chiseled face. So Arnold Schwarzenegger, Pitta Kapha. The previous photo, Pitta Vata. This person has a more delicate constitution because it's mixed with Vata deficiency. This is mixed with Kapha moisture. And so what you see when you have heat and good nourishment mixed together is you see good muscle development and strong bones. And Arnold Schwarzenegger is like the poster child for that. Right. So even his teeth look like they're rectangularly shaped. So you see that rectangle look and fine chiseled appearance, good strong jaw. You know, this is a Pitta Kapha constitution. And there's our Kapha. So Kapha is the third body type in Ayurveda, which I mentioned already. It tends towards excess of what? Nourishment. So these individuals tend to be a little stockier. And you can see this photo, the person has thicker skin, fuller cheeks. You don't see the chiseled appearance of the of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Pitta Kapha individual, because having less heat, this person doesn't burn off the nutrients as much. And so there's an accumulation. We could see from the shine on the skin that it's very moistened. So generally a Kapha person is going to have a wider face, a rounder face. Right? Kapha is able to well nourish themselves. They have good absorption. So they're hardier, beefier, larger physique throughout the body. Now, sometimes Kapha gets mixed with a cool. So this person has some heat, but this person has a much cooler constitution. And so you see a more of a moon face appearance in this Kapha individual. Right now, Kapha tends to have larger eyes, but not in this person's case. And so, yeah, so there's some irregularities. No one's face exactly conforms to their general dosha. The slower metabolism in this person makes their skin cool. So that causes capillary beds to constrict, which makes the face look pale, kind of like a person's skin in January. Okay. All right. Sometimes Kapha people have a more triangular face where it's sort of wider at the bottom than at the top. So Pitta people, their face was wider at the top than at the bottom. Kapha people, their face can be wider at the bottom. The cheeks are so full that it kind of makes a more triangular appearance than a round appearance. So you see that happens also. And I would say that in a person who has that, they're going to be more short and stocky and have a tapered appearance generally. Wide upper arms going to very thin, short fingers, right? They sort of taper. Their limbs taper as well, not just their head. And when I see that short, stocky or tapering look in a Kapha person, I immediately think of thick, sluggish blood, that there's not enough circulation to really get good, fresh blood to the fingertips, so their limbs don't grow as long. And again, there's an SP there, right? That's where I'm speculating that. I'd love to get, do a measurement of blood viscosity and limb length in a formal way. If we could ever conduct that experiment, that'd be great. All right, a forehead. The lack of fat in a Vata deficient constitution makes the skull seem like it's more protruding. Let's see here if we can see that. I mean, in a person who has the bones of Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're going to see protruding quality too. But you can just in general see the shape of a Vata person's bones more. There you go. You see that you could see her whole bone structure here. I mean, this person's probably, this looks, it could be, she could be a little anorexic here. I mean, you see the lips are so pale, it's anemic. I mean, maybe this is makeup. It's the, kind of, heroin chic look of the early O's. And so, but I'm looking here and I see big, wide Kapha eyes, and but this person looks gaunt. So this could even be anorexic. I mean, is she going to have that thick hair without having a Kapha constitution? I don't know. We'll see. If we knew more about this person, we could determine her constitution. But to me, it seems like she has, is not eating enough. And so you're seeing the bone structure of the skull. So lack of fat in a Vata person can make the skull seem like it's protruding. Pitta. Pitta is likely a large forehead with a receding hairline or a widow's peak. And again, that's because the heat sort of makes the brain big. Kapha, often a solid, heavy brow, indicating strong bones as well. So hair and bones are related. Thick hair and thick bones go hand in hand. The bones of a Kapha are larger, more rounded, and blunt, reflecting their strong mineral absorption. So there you see, especially in Pitta Kapha, you get that. Okay. All right, cheeks. Vata cheeks are more sunken in nature. You can even see that if you look closely in my own cheek, you see a little bit of sunkenness right there due to some vata. When before I started studying Ayurveda, and one of the reasons why I studied Ayurveda is because I had a very severe digestive issue after living overseas for several years. I was living in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and studying Bengali folk songs and someday maybe I will sing a Bengali folk song for y'all. But um, but in addition to studying the language of Bangladesh for 10 years, I was also working on a public health project there through Columbia University, developing mobile phone technology about aquifer depth for clean water in Bangladesh. And so, working out in the villages. Well, anyway, I got some local digestive parasites there, being so far from my own Native American parasites, or there's parasites in every part of the world, right? But I have immunity to those of my own geography, and not to the ones in Bangladesh. And so I got pretty sick, and I lost a lot of weight, and Ayurveda saved my life, and I'm so I'm grateful for that. And so, but you can still see a little bit of that deficiency in my cheeks due to the severity of the illness I had. All right. And then, it took, then well, that's one of the reasons why we offer the digestive course, right? Because it took me a long time to put all the information together to heal myself. And why should that take a second person so long? They can just take the course to, um, get that depth that they need for healing their digestive system. All right, so in Pitta, we see that the cheeks are not that sunken, but not that puffy either, and the cheekbones are relatively high. So here we see a childhood photo, which during your child years, there's a little more kapha in your constitution. So, but as you grow into your teenage and early 20s, then you're in Pitta time of life, and this person clearly has a Pitta constitution. You see the high cheekbones and the sharper features in her constitution, right? The penetrating eyes, penetrating sharp eyes, even the green color of the iris. I would see that as a sign of Pitta. Okay. There's Kapha again, and you can see the fullness. Even the hair here looks like there is like a good the hair looks strong, even though you can't see it that well. You still can see that that his hair is covering the head entirely, that the skin is moistened and shiny, that the lips are broad and full, that there's roundness to the features on the nose and around the chin. So this person has um, a good, sturdy kapha constitution, nice, strong teeth bones as well. All of that is a sign of a healthy, balanced kapha constitution. All right. Kapha generally holds on to water well. That's one of in fact, kapha can mean that which flourishes in water. And so I think of kapha as well moisturized, and they can tend towards excess water retention as well. But because they hold on to water well, their features are full. All right, chin. Vata tends to have a long, thin chin that may be frail looking or even off center in certain cases. I wouldn't call this is a 3/4 profile photo. So the chin is not off center here. It's just the kind of photo it is that's giving that appearance, but you can still see a long, narrow chin, classic of Vata. All right. So, Pitta people, as I said, generally have sharper features. So you see a sharp sort of pointy nose here, small but pointy nose, a little bit of deviation of her septum, right? You can see here that if you dropped a vertical line here, you'd see that the nose is off-centered to the left. So maybe some in childhood injury caused that. And then you see it corrects itself. This little groove kind of goes back to the right and brings it back to the midline. But this is a classic Pitta chin, a little bit more substantial than the Vata chin, but still, not hefty, because this, again, is a Pitta Vata person. For Pitta Kapha, you see the square chin. We discussed that already, strong jawbone. All right, and for a Kapha person, the chin is covered in flesh, so it's more hearty, rounded. The chin may appear stout, but it's less chiseled than in a Pitta person. All right. Let's look at now. Generally, okay. So generally when I do assessment, by the way, because you see the word surface there. What do you mean by surface? Generally, when I am doing assessment, I'm going outside in and I'm looking at general shape and then the surface and then the interior, right? So what I'm saying here is we're done with shape now, and now we're kind of going to what appears on the surface, right? So hair sort of comes out of the head, so I put it in this category. In a Vata person, the hair is thin, frizzy, and dry. So you see this person has a lot of split ends. Actually, they should probably cut their hair so that their hair could be a little healthier. You need to cut off all those split ends so that it doesn't keep splitting, right? But we see the hair looks dry. And what do we notice, right? Are we going to accept that she has a dry constitution just from one sign? No, the lips are also dry. So now I'm getting more confident that she has a dry constitution. Now, the photo on the right also has dryness in the constitution. I mean, dryness in the hair, but she has lipstick on. So she doesn't have dry lips, but we don't know whether her lips are really dry or not. However, what we do notice is an asymmetrical bone structure in the jaw with a thin chin and a very thin nose as well, thin, long nose as well. So Vata. And dark brown hair also tends to be more Vata in nature. But again, you have to discount for ethnicity. If you are from Southern Italy or an Arab nation, you're not going to, and someone has black hair, you're not going to be like, oh, they're Vata because they have black hair. No, everybody has black hair there. All right, Pitta people tend to have fine, thinner hair, and they may bald earlier due to high head temperature and oiliness of the scalp. Also, a person can get male pattern baldness from having too much of a testosterone derivative. Pitta people also, their hair can also be lighter in color. That reddish color can be typical, or blonde, even blonde, more blonde hair is more typical of Pitta. And so how do we know that? What are some other signs that this person is Pitta? Look at the rosiness to the face. So we see there's plenty of blood close to the surface of the skin, but also, he has good, strong teeth. Looks like he has good, strong muscles. So more, I don't know if I would say Pitta Kapha, but plenty of Kapha there too. All right, there's Oprah. She's got the thick hair that has a nice sheen to it. Again, fullness in the cheeks, fullness in the eyebrows. Notice see how full those eyebrows are. Her eyes are a little bit sunken for Kapha. So yeah, but you often get thick, rich, luxurious hair that is wavy in a Kapha person. I think this is exemplary of that. All right, Vata people will have very little facial hair. Pitta people will have more fair or orange hair and a medium amount. Pitta women may develop more facial hair as they age, as testosterone increases. And Kapha people tend to have a thick, fast-growing, large beard. So my brother-in-law is a Kapha, and it's like he doesn't even need to wait until 5 o'clock to get a shadow. He has like a noon shadow. And if he can shave his face twice a day, and he's still, it's like if he takes off his shirt, like at the beach or something like that, it's like he's still wearing a sweater because he has so much chest hair. It's like you can't even see his skin. So that's Kapha. Not every Kapha has that, but Kapha is more likely to have that. All right, what about facial lines? It's natural to develop wrinkles in your skin as you age, and those wrinkles develop as collagen is lost. So wrinkles are associated with dryness, deficiency, and vata. But the location where lines develop gives insight into your doshas, organs, tissues, etc. All right, so we're going to look at the quantity of wrinkles as a sign of dosha. And we're also going to look at the location as a sign of dosha or imbalance. So vata tends to have the most weathered appearance due to their dryness. They get the most wrinkles. Kapha tends to have smooth, supple skin that looks young for their age with few wrinkles. And pitta is somewhere in between. Horizontal lines on the forehead are an indication of worry and anxiety. And a person who is anxious kind of lifts their eyes and like, what's going on? It's a kind of a nervous habit. So they wrinkle their skin. A person who is, who has creases on either side of the eye is a person who's analyzing. You could see if I do this, I get it on my face, right? So a person who has a habit of being analytical will develop lines here. And so that's a pitta sign. Pitta people who have a lot of heat, where does that heat come from? It comes from the liver, and a slightly imbalanced liver causes a person to be more analytical in nature. Why? The liver is a detox organ. You could say that on a physical level, the liver is the organ that solves problems. And the brain is the mental organ that solves problems. So there's this sort of functional relationship between the liver and the brain, is that the liver picks up a problem in the body and stimulates the mind to fix it, to find the source of the problem and eliminate it. So pitta people are penetrating, analytical, focused. They're problem solvers, great consultants. I have strong pitta, and I've been a consultant my whole life. I'm an Ayurveda consultant. I was a technology consultant and a teacher. So, I seek penetrating insight into an issue, and that's characteristic of pitta. So, in classical Ayurveda, a vertical line next to the right eyebrow is a sign of liver. Left is a sign of spleen. I can't say that I subscribe to that, but I've read it in textbooks. I have not seen clinical experience may be so finely tuned that the left side's liver and the right side is spleen. I think of them both as liver spleen. Why spleen? Spleen is the organ that stores extra red blood cells. So liver stores extra fat. That's why you get a fatty liver if you eat at McDonald's too much. The spleen stores extra red blood. Both of those organs are associated with heat. And so both of them would cause these lines. And I think in sort of mystical Ayurveda, this is the spleen and this is the liver. But again, I've not corroborated that with my clinical experience. So, all right. Double chin is a person who may have an underactive thyroid. You see in general, this person's whole face has a cool appearance to it. Not as much blood flow on the surface of the skin. Lips are pale. And so we notice a cool metabolism. So when you have a cool metabolism, you have more accumulation, underactive thyroid or slow metabolism. All right, here you can see another person who, it's funny. See this, you always have to look out for this, okay? This looks like a person who is not constitutionally Vata, but who has become Vata due to roughness, some sort of rough life. Right now, this may be the rough life of a celebrity who has just partied too hard, or I don't know what the cause is, but I'm seeing a broader nose, thickness in the skin, thickness in the hair and beard, full lips. But then at the same time, the skin looks weathered, rough, and raw to me. So I see that there's maybe some inflammation in the skin in addition to, but look at the sparkle in the eye. So this to me looks like a Pitta person who had a lot of kapha, but who burned it up through living roughly in their life. And now their skin looks raw and weathered. So that is a Vata look. Now, except for the redness, which to me says it's mixed with Pitta, mixed with heat. All right. And Vata tends towards moles and liver spots. So you see a liver spot right there on their head, and this looks like some sun damage here. It's really hard to analyze here because it just looks like some sun damage or something like that. Okay, Pitta have more sensitive skin, and their skin is a glowing, bright color, indicative of their strong metabolism. Their skin flushes easily and may have some redness in it. They may blush easily. They may be more prone to inflammation, rashes, and acne. Yellow color to the skin is also common for Pitta, but if it's very yellow, as in the case of this baby, this is jaundice. And all my babies had jaundice when they were born, probably due to that thalassemia minor trait, Mediterranean trait. And we put them out in the sun for, 20 minutes twice a day for the first few days, and that helped their liver get in gear, and then they were fine. But jaundice and after birth, or jaundice that won't go away, jaundice when you're an adult is a emergency, and you need to get to the hospital because your liver may need support. However, in Pitta, you may notice a slightly more yellowish tendency in or a sallow complexion. I always think of in cartoons when the protagonist is smoking a cigar and their face turns green and they like make a face like they're about ready to vomit, right? That kind of sallow complexion is also typical of Pitta. All right, and a sort of black or greenish color beneath the eyes. That here, this is also can be ethnic. I've seen that some South Asians will have this sort of darker coloration around the eye, and it appears to be just completely natural. But in other cases, it can be a sign of gallbladder stagnation. I had a client who had this black bags under her eyes, and it was definitely not a part of her ethnicity at all. And she was a very bitter person who was having some struggles in her relationship. And, I tried to talk with her a little bit about some of that bitterness in the mind to help relieve some of that in the liver. But I think that client was just too bitter to even talk about it. So we did not make progress in that case. That happens sometimes. But in any case, when you see a sort of black bags under the eyes that are not natural ethnically, you can suspect some Pitta issues in the liver gallbladder system. All right, again, we see Pitta here. Notice the asymmetry. The whole face goes to the left. Notice that? The smile is actually just a little crooked smile, but here you see the grace, the fairness, and the delicateness. I mean, this is almost like the the proverbial elfin queen, right? Like, you ever see those movies where they have some elfin population and the queen always has this sort of ethereal, bright look that I think is sort of it's almost like this person is looking beyond you. You see, there's a little bit less of the penetrating quality of pitta here. It's almost like this person has a transcendent look. But in any case, we do see the bright and sparkliness of pitta. This is probably a little bit of rouge to the cheeks, but if it's not rouge, then we see the rosiness of a pitta cheek. Yeah, but we clearly see the pitta face shape with the wider forehead and the narrower chin. So pitta have delicate skin. Kapha has the thickest and smoothest skin. All right, so this is a Kapha woman who has thick, luxurious hair. And as a Kapha person, we see the coolness in her skin and the moisture in the skin, the big, beautiful Kapha eyes, right? But, because Kapha people tend to feel sluggish and they know they have a slow metabolism, they try to sharpen up their appearance a little bit. So here you see a kind of more, modern, sharper haircut, which this, person is probably doing to make them appear just less soft, because Kapha tends to have a softness to it, which, nobody likes their dosha, by the way. The Vata people want the Kapha hardiness. The Kapha people want to be, thin and light and sharp like a Pitta person. So, I'm going to say then, marry a person like that, but don't change yourself, right? Anyway, so Pitta people tend to have, Kapha people tend to have a paler appearance because of the coolness in their skin. So again, discounting for ethnicity. If a person has a darker skin ethnicity, you'll still see that the Kapha people in that population have a slightly paler look to their skin. The Pitta people have a much brighter look, and the Vata people have a little bit more of a duller look or a gray appearance. All right. So Kapha can sometimes have a slight pasty look too. And I think you see that here. But all right, let's take a look at some facial features. Eyebrows. Vata people tend to have thin, sparse eyebrows. Okay, now here's an example of coloration below the eyes that is not associated with the liver, but more with the adrenals. This coloration beneath the eye, as opposed to a sort of blackened sort of bag underneath the eye, this coloration here I associate with weakened adrenals or adrenal fatigue. Okay, Pitta people will have average thickness in the eyebrow, with blonde or reddish in color. Again, notice the sparkliness to the eyes here. Classic Pitta. All right, and there's the unibrow, the Kapha unibrow, right? Thick eyelashes, thick lips, strong bones, thick, luxurious, beautiful, wavy hair. Sometimes Kapha people have a short brow. My dad had these eyebrows. He had short eyebrows, and that is a sign of high cholesterol. Can also indicate hypothyroidism or diabetes. So again, full lips, full cheeks, but the short eyebrows here are showing that there may be some Kapha imbalance. Let's take a look at the eyes. So we have a few different parts to the eye. The pupil is the hole in the eye, the black dot in the middle of the eye that the light enters into the eye. Then the iris is the color part of the eye. The sclera is the white part of the eye. And then you have the eyelid. All right. The shape of your eye can reveal your constitution. The movement of your eye can reveal the acute state of your nervous system. And the sclera reveals impurity in the blood. In general, white tissues of the body, like the teeth or the sclera, reveal impurities in the blood. Where's some teeth here? Well, I don't have much. Oh, there we go. There's Oprah. So Oprah had some teeth there, but whatever. Because the teeth are white and the sclera is white, if there's any impurities in the blood, you'll see it there, because it's like if you have a white wall, if there's any dust in the room, you see it against the white wall, but you wouldn't be able to see that against a different color wall. All right, so white tissues are really important for toxin analysis. Vata eyes, they tend to be smaller eyes and sunken. Now, Abe Lincoln is a Vata Kapha, tall, big boned, and thin, but he has that sunken Vata eyes. All right. And you can see the sort of rugged look on his face and the sunken cheeks. Okay. The less fat buildup behind the eyes, what causes that sunken eye appearance. And Vata people tend to have eyes that dart about all over the place. The eyes are swollen in terms of bags. That can be kidney water retention in the constitution due to weak kidneys. But if you see the darkness, as I said, in the corner of the eyes here, that's more adrenal fatigue. Now, if these bags had a blackish appearance, then we would go then to liver gallbladder. And we see some signs here of inflammation. Look at the eyes are red and inflamed. So this person probably has blood stagnation and they're not clearing toxins from their lymphatic system. So they're getting systemic inflammation. This person just needs a few good nights sleep. There you go again, the purple just beneath the eye related to blood stagnation, kidney fatigue. Dull gray color indicates toxins in the colon, but in this case, this kind of patch here, I would be nervous about cancer with that, so I would get that checked out. But sometimes people have a gray appearance to the whole sclera, and that indicates toxins in the colon. A very dark brown eye could be Vata in the liver. Not always, can depend on ethnicity. A dull color or lack of pigmentation can point to low Agni. And very dark blue is a sign of cold. Any irregularity is always Vata, by the way. So this person has a drooping eyelid, that's Vata. All right, Pitta eyes are sharp and penetrating, and they're almond-shaped. There can be yellow color in the sclera like this, indicating bilirubin in the blood. And if a client has this, they should go to the hospital. I have that in the corners of my eye due to the strain and stress on my liver from thalassemia minor and past health issues. But it's not an emergency for me, but it is something I'm always watching. Bloodshot sclera includes some sign of inflammation. I think everyone intuitively knows that. Light blue or light green is a Pitta eye, and that's showing heat burning up the color, an analytical and fastidious nature. All right, Kapha eyes are large, swan-like eyes, large oval-shaped. And Vata may have a sort of nervous gaze, Pitta a piercing or intense gaze. Kapha eyes look loving, calm, and affectionate. Kapha tend to have thick eyelashes. Their eyes appear moist and watery, and they have a bright white in the sclera. If you wake up with sleep in the corner of your eyes, you know that sort of gooey thing that some people call sleep. I'd love to, I guess I never looked up the medical name of that, but if you wake up with sleep in your eye, then you have thick, well-nourished blood. Dark color eyes can also be a sign of Kapha. Blue eyes tends to be more Kapha also. So blue can be Pitta or Kapha. Dark brown is typically Kapha or Vata, but not always, just typical. And you see the signs are going together here. Thick, wavy, luxurious hair, full cheeks. All right, the ears of a Vata person will look more cool, bluish, or gray due to blood stagnation, and they may look pale due to anemia. Pitta people, their ear is red and warm to the touch, especially after a meal. Like if I eat a hamburger, my ears get really hot. Actually, I got bit by that Lone Star tick that makes people allergic to red meat, so I can't eat red meat anymore. But when I did, my ears would get hot. All right. The larger, longer earlobes are a sign of a person's age. So that's why in Chinese medicine, long earlobes are a sign of intelligence, just because it means a person's older and therefore wiser, right? Puffy lobes with a crease um, or excess hair in the ears can indicate high cholesterol. Excess hair in the ears can also indicate high testosterone. We mentioned already, Vata will have a thin nose with less flesh on the nose, and Pitta will have a more pointy nose and may have a red tip, or maybe some rosacea, whereas Kapha will have a broader nose, and the skin on the nose will be thicker and moister looking and more rounded. I think we saw many examples of that. Let's see. I mean, most of the people here look they have a more thinner nose generally. All of them do. So there you go. There's a little thicker nose. But Kapha tend to have a more broad nose. There were some examples earlier. Some male picture that I'm thinking of, but I don't know if I can get back to that slide easily. Hypothyroidism can broaden the nose too. The lips, thin lips are Vata, thick lips are Kapha. We've talked about that already. Pale lips are more cold in nature. Colorful red lips are a sign of more heat, and this is pathological heat. You see there's a rash around the lips. As a person gets older, their lips get thinner and paler. That reflects the cold, dry qualities of old age. Pitta lips have a medium volume, but they're red and lustrous. Here you go. Broad nose, thick lips. This is Marlon Brando. Thick jaw, nice thick muscles, right? Real hunk. So, yeah, you don't see any tension in the mouth. You see thick brows. Sometimes a Kapha person will have flaky lips, and whenever they do, I think that is a sign of an infection, an imbalance, because Kapha people generally have smooth lips. All right, we have made it to the end of the presentation. I want to thank all of you for attending today's talk. Hopefully you loved it. I want to remind you all, we're giving you a $500 scholarship if you register. This will be the last scholarship that we offer for our programs starting in only 30 days. So if you like what you learned today and found this insightful, you can go to the Joyful Belly website under Study Ayurveda, and you can register. Actually, if you register in any one of our courses within the next 3 days, I will give you that $500 scholarship to the course. So take advantage of that. Class starts in 30 days. Register now for it. If you're planning to attend, now is the time you want to register and just get started and prepared for class. It will be a life-changing experience for you. Again, our courses are experiential, rigorous, experiential, and practice-oriented. So you will learn a lot about yourself. You will learn a lot about your family, and also have the ability to start a clinical practice. So very exciting opportunity to study. It's our courses are completely online, and so you can study when it's convenient for you. We meet for live classes as well to review the material. Lots of interaction, lots of personal time for studying too, and we do body awareness experiments, all of that. So very rich education that you will get. It's 2 years. It's the shortest that anyone should study Ayurveda. Would never study Ayurveda for less than that. If you're trying to get the full scope of it. The digestion course is a 1-year course. It's focused and specialized in a particular area, and that makes that possible. For the herb course, generally folks who enter into that course have some prior experience of herbs or have some prior training in Ayurveda. And if you have one or the other, you're eligible for that course. And that's just an amazing course. Your clinical skills will just night and day difference. Great. So yes, I have recorded this presentation. I will post it on our YouTube channel in the next 24 hours. So check out our YouTube channel. We have lots of great videos there where you can learn about everything. I think Joyful Belly offers more free Ayurvedic knowledge and wisdom than anywhere else out there. Check out our food section. You can look up any ingredient. You can even filter ingredients on multiple effects according to Ayurveda things. Take your quiz on Joyful Belly to get your body type and dosha. Lots of great opportunities to learn on the Joyful Belly website. So check that out if you like. And yeah, wonderful, great. Thank you, everyone. I want to end by saying it's not just that disease is contagious, health is also contagious. When you show initiative and take initiative to discover the body, you start to heal, you get stronger, more resilient, happier, right? Improves the quality of life. It's a win-win all around. Then people see your your wellness, and they want to pass it on. Look, I'm 50 years old, right? A few months short of 50 years old, and I think that even despite some pretty difficult health issues that I had, but prior to studying Ayurveda due to my travels overseas, I'm quite healthy as a 50-year-old, and I think Ayurveda is the cause of that, and I've just seen so many people do great with it. So fascinating thing to study. Thank you all again for your interest in health, for spreading the word, for telling people about some of the things that they can discover on Joyful Belly and through Ayurveda. Excuse me. So I will open the floor for questions. You can, ask me anything. Turn on your video and say, what dosha am I? or ask your question about the face. Ask your question about the courses. I'm happy to answer them. Let's see in the chat here. I see someone telling me they're going to register for the herb course. So it's exciting. I'll look forward to seeing you in class. I teach in all the classes, and we have a team of teachers that teaches in every class as well. So our teachers know our students, and you'll know us. And you'll see throughout our teaching together, I will share personal anecdotes and things from my personal experience, my own personal health issues. And so, yeah, we as a class, we do form a community. It's pretty amazing to see that happen. Now I see Linda has her hand up. Linda, how can I help?
I heard that most people as they age or when they're older, like myself, that they
Hmm.
become a Vata, even if they were originally a Kapha. I've probably always been a Vata. But is
Hmm.
there any truth to that?
Yes, yes, there is. So it's not that you're you call it in technical Ayurveda terms, you would call it Vikriti encroaching on Prakriti. And what it means is that your imbalances become chronic to the point that they sort of reform your constitution, right? And so that's a general process that happens. But it never, your original constitution never completely goes away, right? So it becomes a mix. So if you're a Kapha person, you might be Kapha Vata towards the end of your life. Or if you're a Pitta person, you'll be Pitta Vata. Yeah. So you
Okay.
see the more mixing, it mixes in, it doesn't completely take over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then is that true that you should follow more of a Vata like diet? What's recommended? Not too dry
That
food.
depends. That depends. So, and when you say Vata diet, that it's almost like you need to be a little more fine tuned than that. So Vata is right. If you go back to the ancient sutras, Tatra Ruksha Lagushita Karashuksmas Chalo Nilaha, right? That is the definition of Vata in Sanskrit from the classical text, which means that which is dry, light, cold, rough, subtle, and mobile is Vata. Actually, they use the word beyond blue, which is a synonym of Vata, Anila. So anyway, dry, light, cold, rough, subtle, mobile. A Kapha person who has Vata in old age is not going to have dryness, but they might have coldness because Vata and Kapha share cold. So they're not just going to eat a Vata pacifying diet, they'll gain too much weight. But what they're going to do is treat that coldness of Vata and maybe even some of the roughness of Vata. Whereas a Pitta Vata person will probably still have some heat, but they'll get more dried out because Pitta the heat dries them out in addition to the Vata drying them out. So they're going to focus more on pacifying dry quality. So the doshas are a really good generalization that is very orienting. But typically when you're planning a diet, you're going to go one level deeper to those biocharacteristics, dry, light, cold, rough, subtle, mobile for Vata. Pitta sasneha tikshno shnam lagu visram saram dravam, right? Definition of Pitta, that which is pitta sneha tikshna, sneha oily, tikshna sharp, oshna hot, sneha tikshna sham lagu visram saram dravam, lagu light, visram sour, saram spreading, and lagu visram saram dravam liquid. So pitta is oily, sharp, hot, light, sour, spreading, and liquid, right? And so those qualities, you're going to look to see which of those qualities in Pitta are aggravated. And you're going to have a Pitta pacifying diet generally, but specifically you might be pacifying heat or oiliness or sour quality. Sour quality means fermentation in the gut, and things like that. So yeah, so you're just going to go one level deeper so that you can be more precise with the diet. Kapha also oily, cool, heavy, and manda, smooth, or dull, and then soft, slimy, and mritsna, stira, kapha, stira, stable. So you're going to look at all those qualities. Is the person very stable and sluggish? Are they more oily? Are they more watery? Are they more soft? And they need to be more toned? Those are all things that you're going to look at specifically for kapha. Yeah, so
Beautiful.
you go one level deeper, and that helps you identify how is Vata affecting your original dosha, and it gives you a pinpoint accuracy on your diet.
Hey, thank you.
Yes.
With that.
Don,
Yes.
I have a question. This is kind of something that interests me, and I think the diet is really critical. You know, diet specific for your dosha, and as you are aging or you're going through a particularly stressful period in your life, you know, it's really critical to support that. with the appropriate diet. But what my question
Mhm.
if, what I have seen working from a background in energy is that people who have imbalances in their energetic field and who are, have been working on systematically to treat that with some type of program such as Qigong or Tai Chi, or working with a practitioner, an acupressurist or a shiatsu practitioner, something of that nature, they're able to turn around a lot of these situations that are imbalances, which they call, I think they say the doshas are, is it vitiated, or is that the term
Yeah,
they use?
vitiated. Yeah,
Yeah.
corrupted. And
Okay, so
Mhm.
in my case, I know that because of having Lyme, it's corrupted my pitta, and so everything is out of whack. And I think so if you're looking at a situation like that, what percentage of work can you correct your imbalances by doing what I just mentioned, working with
What do you mean?
Qigong?
I'm not sure which situation are you talking about specifically?
Well, not any specific situation, just for instance, we're using as an example, people who have energetic imbalances, which just about everybody in our culture does because, even in the world, because of the way we're
Yeah.
living.
Yeah, nobody
So,
has a perfectly formed mind. Yeah.
right. So if you're able to, if work with the energetic imbalances and sort of support that with nutrition, would the herbs be necessary to use?
Well, you could say that you could say that in any direction, right? If you had a
Uh-huh.
perfect diet, would you need energetic healing? If you had a perfect energetic balance, would you need physical healing, right? And from an Ayurvedic point of view, we use all available healing tools always,
Mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm.
So because disease is difficult and intractable, and so if an herb helps a person calm down enough that they can listen and receive some spiritual wisdom, then that's going to help them get an energetic healing, which might help their physical healing, right?
Right,
But the
right,
herb,
right,
it can put them in a position to receive the energetic healing, and so it can go in all directions, right?
right,
The main thing what we want to do is use every available tool. We don't want to just use, a pill, but we don't
right.
want to not use pills, right? It's not like if I had a worm right now in my intestines, I would use a Western medical pill in a second,
Mhm,
without hesitation to kill it, especially since anthelmintics tend to have very few side effects, right?
mhm.
It's not like antibiotics. Antibiotics can have a lot of side effects, but worm killers don't. So in many cases, I'm just going to go straight to Western medicine. If I get in a car
Right,
crash and I need some surgery, take me to the emergency room. Don't not to an
right.
herbalist, right? But and so we lose all forms of healing. But yes, at its root, ultimately, yeah, you could have um you could have a genetic defect, and that is clearly having a physical source of
Mhm,
the or it could be past behaviors that have created a physical imbalance. But if your current behaviors are creating a physical imbalance, then you do have a spiritual imbalance, a wrong belief or an
right.
inability to act on your beliefs, and you need spiritual healing. Everybody needs spiritual healing, and that's a vast topic. Everybody needs physical healing. So yeah,
Mhm,
yeah, we want to take advantage of all the tools that are available to us.
mhm, mhm. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I refer out all the time in my practice. In fact, I try to make sure I refer every client to at least one other great person that can help them.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. So one last question, because I know,
Hmm.
and I don't monopolize the time here. I don't want to do that, but maybe I have a question about parasites.
Hmm.
And how do you know, like I've been to third world countries and I'm pretty sure that I do have a parasitic infection. And so how do you know that even if you send your specimen to a laboratory and it comes out negative, but you kind of manifest the symptoms? So how can you define that? How
Sometimes what
can,
I do is I will take a strong anthelmintic herb because they're pretty cheap, And if you feel better or see any worms from taking the herbal anthelmintic, then you are going to say like, oh, I think I do have worms, right? So sometimes you take the test, sometimes you just take an antiparasite formula and see if you feel better. If an antiparasite formula makes you feel really good, you're probably have parasites, right? So
Right.
there's some ways that other ways to do it. Herbal anthelmintic is example is wormwood, black walnut, chaparral, and there are many others. Neem,
Mhm.
vidunga, cloves.
And
Yeah,
so
usually
do you have
usually
that,
take a bunch of them.
do you
Gotta mix
have
them all
that,
together.
you, do you have that? So do you have that information on your website for the parasite
You
herbs?
can look up well, so there are many different classes of parasites. So some of them are microbial, some of them are worm in nature, right?
Right.
So so we're just going to look at we're going to you can go to, if you go to the remedies section on Joyful Belly and you look in
Okay.
you could see tools for clinicians, by the way, there's a bunch of tools in there, remedies by dosha and herbal action. So you go to the herbal actions here, you see again, there's you find your way to herbal actions on Joyful Belly. You can just also type in the word anthelmintic or the word of any particular type of herbal anthelmintic. Where's our anthelmintics? Now
How do
I
you
might
spell that? Antelmectic.
anthelmintic.
Antelmectic. Oh, A
Let's
N
see. There
T
we go. Now we
E
got it. This is how you spell it. I'll put it in the chat.
O M
So
I
if you
N.
look on the website here, you can see the anthelmintics broken down by dosha, both food anthelmintics and herbal anthelmintics. And they're all broken down by dosha. So it's very easy to pick one out. Oh, I'm a Pitta Kapha constitution, give me black walnut or wormwood. Oh, I'm very delicate Vata constitution, maybe Guduchi, Harataki, or white willow.
And so you just kind of make your own blend and just, it's experimental.
I mean, a lot of times for something like anthelmintic, I'll just buy it at the store.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll buy an herbal blend that's pre-made
Right,
because you're not really looking for a constitution specific anthelmintic.
right, right,
You're really trying to target the constitution of the worm, not your constitution. You're not going to be taking that herb for 6 months, right? You're
right,
taking the herb maybe for a month at max, and you're just trying to get them out. So you can use a blend from someone else. That's not a formula that typically doesn't need to be that tailored to the individual. But
right,
again, if I know and can confirm I have the parasites and can get that diagnosis, I'm taking a Western pharmaceutical.
right,
But if I
right.
don't get the diagnosis and can't get the drug, I will take the herb in that case.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you, John.
Yeah, you're welcome. How else can I help?
If I can ask you one question, this is Karen,
Yes, please.
about, well, just inflammation. Something you had passed by said something about inflammation.
Yes, tell me more. What can I help you with that?
Well, I don't have a specific question to ask. I do have a high inflammation at this time, and just I guess that's more of a curiosity if there's a certain way to help that along to get
Yeah,
back.
so inflammation is an effect, right? Not a
Yeah.
cause. It's an effect. And so
Right.
we have to look at what's causing the inflammation and treat that specifically, which could be very, could be anything from lymphatic stagnation to an infection to autoimmune to liver strain to just any number of things. So we really need to, excess coffee or alcohol consumption, right? And generally, inflammation is pitta. But it doesn't mean that the cause is pitta. We really have to find that cause.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you know the cause?
I'm not sure if I do. That's kind of the road I'm on right now. But there was a heavy hit. There was COVID, really bad
Mm,
case of it.
okay.
Then along came a rotavirus.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, I just see a lot of inflammation and it just didn't get better.
Is it inflammation in your respiratory tract, or is it elsewhere in the
Not
body
at
also?
not at all. It's well, I have arthritis, so it just has been nonstop with that.
Mm. So
So I'm
arthritis
guessing
post-COVID. Yeah, interesting. So
that's more autoimmune is what I'm thinking.
well, it could be, or it could also be that your liver was weakened from the COVID.
The
Uh,
liver.
could be
Okay.
liver, could be liver that's causing a general
Yeah.
flare up in the bones. Yeah, I think that we need to just do more detective work. I think that I would get a consultation with a
Yeah.
qualified practitioner.
I actually did go through a lot of tea and had the raised ridges on the fingernails, and the
Mm-hmm.
ridges on the fingernails are now flat. So, I mean, I've been trying, like I said,
Oh, great.
it's a journey I'm working on. So,
Yeah.
back to health.
Yes. Great. Great. Yeah, that's good. Keep at it. Enjoy the journey too. It's fun to get to try new things that heal you. And
Yeah.
so if you take that lighthearted, enjoyable approach to it,
Yep.
um, you're just on the journey. It may take you 10 years, it may take you 2 years to heal.
Yep.
I've gotten healthier in surprising ways every year of my life. And of course, I'm
Hmm.
aging. So there are some ways in which I'm not as healthy, but in general, I would say that it's never stopped being exciting to learn how to learn new ways to feel great.
As a bit of humor, when
Yeah.
we came home with my first son, uh,
Hmm.
as we were leaving the hospital, I said, "Excuse me, I think you forgot something." And the nurse said, "What?" And I go, "Where's the manual? Where's the instruction booklet
Yeah.
for this thing?" And I
Yes.
think we all need an instruction booklet, and things like this just help us to learn that we need to take care of ourselves as well.
Yep. Yes, it does. Yep. Yeah, and we get to learn. I mean, it would be hard to learn this 10 years ago even, right?
Hmm.
20 years ago, hard to learn it. Where are you going to get the information? It's not on the internet, Joyful Billy put it on the internet. Some other folks have uploaded information on the internet, but so it's easier to learn now, easier to take online courses and things like that. Yeah, so
Right.
it's like we get to go through our redemptive healing health struggles and come out having made fantastic discoveries.
Yeah, and before I sign off, I had a question. Do you ever offer a chat? I don't know what you would call it, not a webinar, but not I'm really curious about the Ayurvedic approach to like intestinal permeability and healing the gut, being that
Mm-hmm.
everything and
Absolutely, we offer that. Yeah, yeah,
as
we
opposed
do. Hmm.
as opposed to the Western approach, which is like rampant right now because theoretically everyone has leaky gut, which most probably they do. But I'm really curious about how Ayurveda deals with that,
Yeah,
and that's something I'd be interested in listening to if there was ever a talk on that, and wondering if there will be coming up, or if there was, or
it's a great suggestion. It is a topic that we cover extensively in the digestive specialization course.
and I'm
Uh,
going to take that. I made up my
oh,
mind.
great.
But I can't take it in October. I think I told you my situation. But if there's something that Ayurveda offers that you can kind of treat yourself as you're working toward the ultimate healing, this is something that I'm wondering if there is going to be anything that you would offer, like a brief hour talk on something like that.
I don't have any plans to at the current moment, but it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that 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 it isn't something that we would I mean it's potential, but I don't have any
Yeah.
plans to do that currently, that
Right.
particular topic.
Yeah, because that's kind of the foundation of many, many health conditions that people aren't aware of. And it's also the treatment. I mean, if you don't heal that impermeable gut, you really can't get well.
Yeah.
And so that's what so many thousands and thousands of people, and that's why I'm going to take the digestion class, the course, that I'm really, really interested in that. But I wanted to get more information in advance. And I thought maybe that would be something that you might maybe consider offering in the future, I hope.
It's a great suggestion. It's a great
Yeah.
suggestion. And I will consider it, definitely.
Right, right. Well, thank you. Well, I have to sign off. It was very, very interesting. I enjoyed your talk, so thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming and taking an interest. And yeah, like I said, health is contagious. So I'm very excited when people are showing up and taking the learning this knowledge and sharing it with people. So yeah, great. It's great to see you all here.
Okay.
Hi, John. My name is Christina, and I do have a question. Somebody kind of sparked an interest. I mean, I know my health issues. I know the cause of most of them, other than my small thyroid, but that's just, I loved the sallow explanation, because I'd actually written down sallow skin, and then all of a sudden 2 slides later, sallow skin.
Yeah.
Whole life. And I mean, I waffle in and out of Ayurveda. It's helped me through so much stuff, but I'm Vata-Pitta. I can't focus. So, but I do one question. I have my left thumbnail. It scoops and then it goes back to normal. And I've tried to monitor to see, well, what have I eaten that's causing this, or anything like that? Any thoughts? I mean, one thing I read said liver. Well, that's sallow skin, blah, 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 blah. But any thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes nail pathology can be related to metabolism and sometimes to bones. So any other issues with bones generally?
Well, I do have just, starting to get a little bit of swelling, but whether that's arthritic or,
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
yeah, something else in that. But again, if I massage things, like, whenever I did have a situation where I can't even remember which fingers it was that would not close. I could not make a fist for probably about 6 months, and simply massaging and stretching and everything. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I could, grab things and hold again. So it's really body aware is big, it's the only one I've got. So you got to take care of it, right?
Yeah, one of the things that's great is that when you have intermittent symptoms, like like the nail changes and then goes back to being healthy, you're really in a great situation there, because the fact that it's intermittent means that there's something that triggers it, and so you can fix it. So I would say that lends to a good prognosis generally. Just be very careful when you look for other anomalies in the nail, white dots or white spots, other changes. See if it correlates with those end joints being inflamed, or other symptoms in the body, digestive disturbances, stool being off, periods of high stress. Just be on the lookout for those things and see what affects it, and that will give you the data you need to figure it out. Are your nails thin or thick?
Yes. Depends on the day. They'll seem really thick and dry, and they get wet, and all of a sudden they start bending over. I do have, I also have the ring finger one that bends inwards. That one has been splitting a lot lately. I don't know why. I mean, I know this inherently, and I mean, the same thing happens with my thyroid, where the doctor's like, we got to get you on medication. I just, give me 3 weeks. And then I come back and my numbers are good again, or closer, or better. you know, beginning of the year, I was hitting in the 10s, and now last time I went, I was down into like 5.5.
So you could have some, you could have some Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune of the thyroid, and your thyroid will perform okay until it gets down to like 5% of where it's like only 5% of it left. But you don't
Yeah.
want your body to get to that point. So if you're getting that intermediate symptoms of thyroid issues, that does sound very autoimmune like in nature, and probably the change in metabolism is changing the nail. So
Okay.
I'm in a doctor's camp that you should treat that carefully and seriously, but not necessarily with taking a pharmaceutical. But I would be carefully monitoring the thyroid as best as I could, tracking your energy levels, when your thyroid goes high, when it goes low, and looking for possible triggers, correlating that with your digestion. Yeah, I would look at that and really try to nail that, because you want to save your thyroid. You don't
Yeah.
want it to get to the point where the autoimmune disease eventually just kills it, and then you have a hypothyroid.
Yeah, well, actually, I've been diagnosed as hypothyroid.
Yeah.
Because that is where my numbers land. I mean, I'm 65. I'm 5'4". I weigh about 118 pounds. And when I go hypothyroid, everybody's like, "You mean hyperthyroid?" It's like, no, it's hypothyroid, because
Yeah.
so every time my numbers are what the doctors would consider bad is when I have the best energy. And it seems that when my numbers start to get closer to normal is when I start to crash. And I'll be like, 4 o'clock, like right about now, I'm like, oh, okay, I think maybe I need a 20-minute nap. So
Yeah.
it's really backwards. And so like I said, it's always been fun. And I did have one person, or
I
one
think
specialist.
Ayurveda excels in these areas, because
Yes.
when there's that variability like that, there's just no real model in Western medicine to handle that. But Ayurveda does well in those areas.
And I know from personal experience, and after my mother had her goiter removed when I was a very early age, so I didn't understand why her mood changed. But I can't Synthroid, I already know doesn't work very well for me. I did try desiccated thyroid, and that almost immediately screwed up my brain chemistry, so that I was like, I would be in an institution somewhere if I had not pulled myself off like within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was just that. But so, okay, well, I guess I wish I live in a small town where I don't think there are no Vedic practitioners around here. So it's like,
well, see a practitioner online.
But how do they do things like the palpitation? Like, how do you get a full physical online? You know what I mean? Or how does that work?
There's just so many different diagnostic skills. I mean, there's face analysis. I have my clients send a photo. They send a photo of their tongue. I get a complete chart on Joyful Belly with like over 1,000 data points. They send it to me, and and so there's just plenty. I think there's plenty of opportunity to discover and grow online. I would just do an online consultation.
Okay, well, we will have to talk about that, because no doubt, I forgot, the tongue is like the one thing to watch for. It's like daily now. I still look, how's it looking? How am I going to feel today? So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We do. Joyful Belly does offer consultations. I do basically when someone requests a consultation with us, because I see that question in the chat. If someone wants a consultation, just email study@joyfulbelly.com. And basically, we'll meet with you 3 appointments. The first 2 appointments will be a graduate of Joyful Belly that I've selected, who can do a great job with your case. And then on the 3rd appointment, I will meet with you and the graduate, and then just provide that extra. So I would, if you're interested in doing that, you can contact study@joyfulbelly.com. But I would say, I wouldn't be shy to do an on-site consultation. I think you'll still learn a lot.
Yeah, okay. Well, now that I understand a little bit more about it, definitely. Well, thank you very much. Have a great
Yes, you're
evening.
welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Any last questions that you have before I go for the evening? You've been a great group, great questions. I wish all of you a very happy evening, happy rest to the summer, and a happy beginning to the school season this year. Uh, think about going back to school if you have a desire to learn this. As the weather gets cooler, it'll be a great opportunity to study. Have a great and wonderful rest of your week. Take care.